And we're back with Bedtime Stories. Grown-up edition. Collateral Damage, Part 12. When we left off, True had slutted Woody out and left him at the bar with her tab. The next day, Stephanie met True in her hotel room. And when she finished telling her all about her family and the catalyst for her marriage to Pastor Corey, she asked True what she would say if she told her that she'd committed a murder. And when True's answer was as gangster as it could possibly be, Stephanie knew she could proceed with the purpose of the meeting. Stephanie asked, well, what would you say if I told you that my Uncle Manny is the kingpin of the Lopez crime family out of Puerto Rico? The Lopez family is the head of the notorious five families, respected in the criminal underworld and virtually untouchable by law enforcement. And they've been in position and in power for the last 100 years. True said, that's dope. Stephanie said, what would you say if I told you that my uncle's ready to retire and he needs a replacement? True said, I'd ask who's next in line. Stephanie said, what would you say if I told you Angela? True bust out laughing and said, ain't nobody else that can do it. You telling me that man ain't got no kids? Stephanie said, he has 3. 2 of them are legit, and 1 of them is best served in the shadows. True said, I'd look at you like this. Stephanie burst out laughing and said, I'm trying to do that. True said, and I would say, I want to be down. Then they both burst out laughing. And True said, you've been training for this your whole life. Remember when we were kids and we used to take your father's old guns and a gang of bullets, go to Kmart and get those maps on posters and go behind Mr. Wilson's barn, call out the state, and then shoot them off the map one by one? Stephanie said, of course I do. Do you remember when Rennie was dating that dude and he thought he could run through the crew and you came up with that plan to set him up? Laughing, True said, hell yeah. I tricked that fool into getting naked and let me tie him up. Then I blindfolded him, let you in the house, and we gorilla glued his junk to his stomach. Stephanie said, and then we left him there like that. And they both fell out laughing. Stephanie said, after I have this baby, I'm going to Puerto Rico. And I'm going to need a right-hand woman. Over the next 2 weeks, very little was learned about where Veronica and the children were. Donovan refused to believe that his children were lost to him forever, but his hands were tied. He finally went back to work though, but Pops Andy continued helping him out at the business, just so that he would have some support and eyes on him. MomBrenda's recovery is going well, and she's able to speak audibly more and more. Regina's been talking with her therapist and the Queen Mother about her issues in the bedroom, and she's been seeing some improvements. Stephanie and Corey are still walking on pins and needles. And the Queen Mother, Angela, and MomBrenda have made quite the trio. They've been keeping their eyes on everything and staying in prayer. They've all noticed that something is up with Anya, but they can't quite put their finger on it. And everybody's working overtime, trying to keep Angela in compliance with Maribel's modified bed rest order. Even the children are helping out with that. Miss Bernie and Mom Joyce have made it their business to keep Donovan fed, entertained, and in as good spirits as possible. At Angela's 28-week appointment, she has another ultrasound and a cervical length assessment. Maribel wants to check and make sure that there aren't any signs of preterm labor. She's pleased with the length of Angela's cervix, and she's also pleased that Angela's actually gained 4 pounds, but that's only an increase of 1 pound, considering that she was down 3 at her last appointment. Maribel says, Angela, it's important that you gain at least 2 pounds a week for the remainder of the pregnancy. The more healthy weight you put on, the more healthy weight the babies put on. While they are measuring well, they're still measuring small. We're doing our best to get you to 32 weeks. But even 32 weeks is preterm. And science has shown that preterm babies have the best outcomes when they're at least 4 pounds at delivery. That means they need to be a combined weight of 8 pounds, and that's only 4 weeks from now. As it stands, they're not on track to meet that milestone, and that's concerning. So I'm continuing the modified bed rest, and if I don't see a 4-pound gain in 2 weeks, you'll be on full bed rest. Q said, "Oh, we're going to make it happen." Maribel said, "This may also be a good time for you to find a pediatrician." Angela said, "Well, we already have one. We have 3 children." Maribel said, "Right. But you should find one who specializes in holistic medicine so that we can collaborate, who has privileges at this hospital if your current pediatrician doesn't, and extensive experience with preemies and multiples. That's a specialty all in itself." Angela said, "Oh, I didn't think of that." Q said, "No worries. We'll get right on it." A few days later, when Angela told Stephanie and Regina that she and Q had been interviewing new pediatricians, she also suggested that Stephanie start doing the same. Stephanie said, "Just let me know who y'all go with and we'll use them too." Hearing that, Angela had had a damn enough. She said, "Stephanie, this is ridiculous. I thank God that Mommy is not here to see this. You act like this is all just some big inconvenience." Stephanie said, "Excuse you? I am grown. I do not need you to tell me what to do or when. It's not nearly that damn complicated. If you and Q are already going through the trouble to find one, why do I need to duplicate y'all efforts? Hell, your kids and Regina kids have 2 completely different pediatricians. So if you pick a whole new one, that gives me 3 to choose from. I would hope that any of the 3 would be perfectly capable of weighing, measuring, and vaccinating a baby. Unless you know of some reason why I shouldn't trust y'all judgment." Regina said, "Well, she does have a point there. I mean, the only reason why you're looking for a new pediatrician is because Maribel gave you such specific requirements, and neither of our current pediatricians meet them." Angela just stared at Stephanie. When Stephanie's phone rang, she said, "Excuse me, I need to take this." And then she got up and walked out of Angela's office. Regina looked at Angela and said, "She's definitely acting strange, but I think you blew that one out of proportion, Angie." Angela said, "No, I didn't. She's just that good at deflecting. She always has been. What kind of first-time mother do you know who's willing to just go with whomever, especially for their first baby?" Then Angela's phone rang. When she looked at the call ID, she said, "Oh my God, that damn Rennie better not be showing out at this facility again." On her screen was the number for the facility where Rennie was being treated. Angela spent the next 5 hours trying to keep her blood pressure down. She had to keep reminding herself that she did not know her husband to be a liar. In fact, she knew him to be an honest man. That pregnancy hormones were wreaking havoc on her emotions. That they were multiplied by 10 because she was carrying twins. She kept praying in her head, "Father God, please help me to be a demonstration of your love, your peace, and your everlasting patience." That night, when Q entered their bedroom carrying Angel, Angela said in the nicest voice she could muster, "Hey, babe, how was your day?" Q said, "It was long, love, but it was good. How was yours?" Angela said, "It was interesting." Q said, "Oh, really?" Then he looked at Angel and said, "Give your mother another kiss goodnight. Then go to bed for real this time. And stay there. Understand?" While still in Q's arms, Angel leaned over and kissed Angela and said, "Night-night, Mommy." Angela said, "Good night, baby. I love you." Q stood him on his feet and just shook his head. When Angel skedaddled out of the room, Q said, "What's up, love? You look like you're doing everything you can over there to maintain your composure. I'd rather you let it out than be all wound up. No stress, remember?" Angela took a deep breath and said, "I got a call from the facility where Rennie's being treated today." Q said, "Oh boy." Angela said, "I was expecting for it to be her doctor calling to say that she'd shown her behind again. But no." Q raised one eyebrow and Angela said, "When I answered, it was Rennie on the other line." Then Q raised the other eyebrow. Then Angela said, "She apologized. She shared her diagnosis with me. She said the kidnapping sent her into a crisis, and because she hadn't been medicated or seeing a therapist regularly, she had a very difficult time recognizing that she needed help. And then she thanked me for getting her the help that she needed. I accepted her apology, and when I told her that the best apology is change behavior, she asked what she could possibly do to show she changed from inside the facility. So I told her she could tell me exactly what she had on Veronica. Q said, "Let's go. Come on, love." Angela just stared. Then she said, "Imagine my surprise when she told me about an incident at the Omni in Fort Worth in your hotel room." Q said, "Wait, what?" Angela said, "Apparently, Veronica threatened to tell me all about how she saw Rennie being carried by you, drunk, going in your hotel room in the middle of the night." You said, "Oh, hell no. That's not even what happened. Rennie tried to come into my room. She passed out. I carried her to LJ's room. When I got her inside, she came to. I stood on her feet and went back to my room. I don't even know what happened after that." Angela said, "So how did she end up in her room, Q?" Q said, "I don't know. I ain't even go near her room. LJ's room was between my room and hers. Clearly, she ain't changed that much if she's trying to make it sound like I did something inappropriate." Angela said she intimated that something must have happened because she woke up in her own room, in her bed, naked. She didn't know how she got there, and when she woke up, she was alone. She was just as surprised as I was that you didn't tell me about it." Q said, "I forgot all about it. I didn't even have a clue that that was an attempt on her part to get at me. I thought she was just in her feelings that night because it was her." "Yo, I'll be right back." Angela said, "What? Wait a minute, we're not done." Q said, "I know, love. Trust me. I'll be right back, though." And then he ran out of the room. When he came back, he had LJ with him, who was clearly asleep in his bed. When Q barged into his apartment, when they came in the room, Q said, "Tell her." LJ said, "Listen, shawty, on Rennie's birthday, she got drunk as hell. Q knocked on my door where Rennie passed out in his arms. When he went to lay her down on my couch, she came too. He left and I helped her lay down in my bed. She talked crazy for a little while and then eventually she fell asleep. And then she woke up, threw up all over herself, all over my bed, all over my room. I had to take her to her room, get her out of her clothes, put her in her own bed, and when she was settled, I went back to my room and slept on my couch. It was funky as hell, but I ain't had no other choice." Angela looked at Q and said, "Why didn't you just tell me that? You didn't have to go get LJ." Q said, "I couldn't have told you that. I didn't know none of that. But it's bigger than that. If Veronica saw Rennie at my door, she was at the hotel. And we know what day it was. LJ calls Zoe." The next morning at breakfast, LJ comes in and he tells Q, "So listen, Zoe hacked into the hotel system and pulled all the receipts for that night for our floor. Veronica wasn't a registered guest, but there was like 50 other reservations." Q said, "Maybe Zoe can compare the registered occupants to the lists of lawyers on the Texas bar website." Michael, who was sitting at the table eating breakfast, overheard this conversation and he said, "That's too much work." Q looked at him and said, "What'd you say, son?" Michael said, "That's too much work. Plus, it might not be accurate. If Aunt Nikki was at the hotel that day, she might have been there another day when she was supposed to be at Moline. Have Zoe check and see if any of the registered occupants were there on any other days. Then look up any duplicates online and see if they got a website that says they're an attorney." Q looked at Angela and said, "I told you this boy is a genius." When LJ called Lorenzo, he hit pay dirt in less than 30 minutes. Other than Q, LJ, and Rennie's reservations, there was one duplicate that started a week from the day Veronica went to Moline until that day. Reservations were made by one Abdul Rahman, attorney at law.